Welcome, and it's been a long time. Time goes very quickly, very rapidly, except if you're on lockdown, then time can actually slow down for some. Now, I'm here based in Japan, so we don't actually have a lockdown. We have what's known as a state of emergency, and that is a request by local government as well as the general government to stay inside or work from home. Now, Japan is not really well set up to work from home, so that hasn't been actually very effective. And a lot of companies have still continued asking employees to go to work, which makes sense for the economy anyway. Whereas in other countries like the United States, etc., Australia, and Europe, the lockdown is pretty severe because you will get penalized. You can get monetary penalties placed upon you if you do break that stipulation, but we don't have that. My thoughts on all of this is that, yes, coronavirus is a real virus, but is it as deadly as being reported? Well, it's very difficult to assess because, for example, we have the whole scandal which is being revealed now with Medicare in the United States, that if somebody is written up with the cause of death being COVID, Medicare pays out $13,000 as opposed to, I think, between only $3,000 or $4,000 for other causes. So this is making a lot of hospitals it's encouraging them to write everything up as COVID. Well, if you don't believe me, then you don't know much about business. The other thing is, which is even worse, is that if the patient before death ends up on a ventilator, then the Medicare will reimburse the hospital $39,000. Now, isn't that an incentive to actually write everything up as COVID? And in fact, what is happening all across the world where similar systems are in place is that doctors are being directed to write up the cause of death as COVID, even though it is quite often another cause. Now, I personally know, I should say, several doctors in the United States, several doctors in Italy and here in Japan, and they have been telling me that they were instructed to follow procedure. Now, following procedure means the directive. And a lot of these directives are that if someone walks into their hospital and they have a headache or flu-like symptoms, immediately admit them into hospital and write it up as COVID. And then the cause of death, even though it's not COVID, now they have told me this because of this insurance system, to write it up as COVID. So we are seeing a disproportionate number of deaths that may not be COVID related being recorded as COVID. So we really do not have an accurate picture. Everything is opportunistic here to make money for these institutions. Having said that, like I said, this is a real virus, so you still have to take precaution to keep your immunity system up. Getting tongue-tied again, as often happens. Get fresh air, get sunlight. Now, what is ludicrous is that in a lot of places, parks are being closed, locked up, and people are being restricted from going outside and getting fresh air and sunlight, which is nonsense, because what will happen if you don't get enough sunlight and fresh air is that your immunity will actually decrease as long as your natural well-being and also your mental condition. So when you do come out of this lockdown, we're probably going to see a massive increase in people catching all kinds of things. And then it's going to be, again, blamed upon COVID. Now, there are also a lot of people out there saying, oh, look, it's affecting everybody. It's not like the flu. It's worse, etc. Yeah, the conditions are worse because COVID isn't actually what's killing you. It triggers other symptoms within you, like pneumonia. So pneumonia will kill you, etc. It may be COVID related. But the fact of the matter is, it is not accurate to say, oh, a healthy person, under 20 or 30, a very healthy person contracted COVID and died, because we do not actually know if that person was actually healthy. A lot of people think they're healthy, they believe they're healthy, but they have undiagnosed, unrelated conditions to COVID, and COVID or something else has triggered it, and they are dying. Doctors in Italy have stated that 97 to 98%, and this is a fact, of their patients that die due to COVID-related triggering were very, very old people that had at least 3 other serious conditions. And they're not backing down from this. And their data has stated that when they do perform autopsies, and they haven't performed that many, but when they do on the very, very few younger so-called perfectly healthy cases that have succumbed to this supposed COVID disease, they actually have found an undiagnosed heart condition or a cardiovascular precondition that just wasn't diagnosed because the person never went in for a checkup. So this leads me to cast a lot of doubt of this reporting. The other thing is also when we take into consideration, of course, you can believe what you like. I'm not going to tell you to believe what I'm saying. It's up to you to believe or reject. That is perfectly fine. But I'm just giving you my spiel. So the other thing to take into consideration is statistics. Now, I used to work for a government statistics department back in New Zealand. And I know all about how statistics are collected, and then quantified and measured, whatever. We have a problem here with this disease in that only the sick people are being counted, and from the sick people, the number of deaths are being calculated. So we have a very disproportionate percentage coming up as the death rate, which is not accurate. The more people you test, then the more cases you will uncover, and the death rate percentage then can be accurately assessed, and it would be very, very low. Like, I estimate that if everybody was tested, you would probably find that cases of COVID are probably 50 to 100 times more than are being reported. Now, these cases are very, very mild because this disease is very, very mild to 97% of the population. It's the 3% that will be affected very adversely because it will trigger pneumonia mainly and other organ malfunctions and diseases in these 3%. So the approach to all of this, in my opinion, and I'm not claiming to be a doctor or anything, but I have talked to a lot of them, is that the way to treat these kinds of diseases and outbreaks is to actually confine the vulnerable. Okay? Really confine the vulnerable, and that means the elderly. They should be under lockdown, not the healthy people. Now, amongst the healthy people, like I said, not everybody who believes they're healthy are healthy, so of course there'll be some casualties there. But it will be up to each individual to have a proper yearly health checkup. Now, I'll give you an example here in Japan. Now, Japanese are not the healthiest people in the world, but they do eat very healthy foods overall, and they have a good healthcare system in that yearly they need to do a full checkup. So doctors and companies know, and the individual knows their weak points and their illnesses within themselves. They know it. And this is why, yes, there are COVID cases here, but really, really minute in comparison to other places because they have this yearly health check and they know their vulnerability and they do more or less take precautions. And this is what's needed. So then lock up the elderly people and the people with pre-existing health conditions, or the ones that believe they're vulnerable, and let everybody else get on with their lives. Because the only way to immunity with something like this is by actually being exposed to these viruses and letting the natural antibodies build up within the healthy individual. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that we're going to get continuously, or you are anyway, not me, locked down, and then your immune system gets actually compromised, even in the healthy people. And then when you're out of lockdown, you go out and boom, you're going to catch everything. That is not a good scenario, folks. Not a good scenario. So what is the end game in all of this? Well, the end game is pretty obvious, and that is passing more restrictive laws, or should I say removing more social freedoms from society, placing them in the hands of government, more totalitarianism. I'm not even sure if I can pronounce that. Totalitarianism, maybe that's the correct word. Sorry, guys. I'm having a bit of a brain fart today. And like China with the AI implementing all these things, and then we're seeing Bill Gates and his agenda, because his company and companies like his stand to make trillions of dollars with microchipping and issuing of travel certificates to those people that have been immunized and restricting those who haven't. And so a lot of social freedoms can be taken away this way, like we saw in 9/11 with the Terrorism Act, etc. The only way that governments and these organizations can pass these against human rights bills and bylaws is by creating panic and distress and confusion, and then under the guise of like, oh, we're here to help people for their public safety. Well, that's my opinion anyway. Like I said, you don't have to believe what I say. Please believe what you like. That is your freedom and your right. But that is my spiel for today. Anyway, I felt like just saying something, and I have. So there you have it, folks. My take on things. When will things start to improve? Well, things have never really been in the danger that they said it was, in my opinion. So May is the perfect time. Like tomorrow will be May, I think. The first week of May is when Japan is scheduled to renounce this emergency situation, although a lot of the wussy governors are trying to push for an extension of it, which is ludicrous. I don't know anybody that has this thing, and I know thousands of people, so to speak, not well, but I know thousands of people because in the line of work I'm in touch with a lot of companies. And I do know that some people out there that I don't know, because I heard on the news, have lost loved ones. And of course, condolences to them. It's they were vulnerable and they did succumb. But compared to the seasonal flu we had here in Japan last year, this is nothing. I don't know about the United States or whatever, but this is absolutely nothing. Should you wear a mask? Well, I think, yeah, if you have a cold or something to prevent your sneezes, whatever, and splattering over somebody, public courtesy, why not? But if you're outside in wide open spaces, take that mask off, breathe deeply the fresh air and bathe in that sunlight, okay? But once again, do as you please, follow your own advice. Well, I will sign off, like I said I would. Please have a great week ahead. Take care of yourself. Keep your immune system strong. Keep healthy, exercise, and keep in control of your life and your destiny. Okay? All right. Till next time, take care. Be happy. Be positive. Keep going forward. Cheers.